Lower Manhattan. The ruling is in here in the Trump civil fraud trial. We were wondering what this number would be because, remember, the question was, how much would Donald Trump owe after inflating his finances in order to get some better deals with lenders and the like? And one of the numbers floated around was whether it would be over $300 million. It is. It's just in at $354 million. So again, Donald Trump is being put on the hook here for $354 million at his New York civil fraud trial. We've had experts on throughout who've been talking about, what would that number mean? How much would that affect Trump? Would he have to liquidate a number of assets? Would he have to sell off properties and the like? That's a lot. Trump had testified previously to supposedly having $400 million liquid. That was before all this started. There's some question about whether that was true. Bernardo Villalona is with us right now with some legal analysis. We get to Laura Ingle at the courthouse as well. Thank you, Bernardo, for coming on. That's kind of the number a lot of people were expecting, but it's a big number to put on the screen, $354 million. Your initial reaction to what's happening here, civil court in New York.
Absolutely. I'm not surprised that the judge hit Trump with $354 million because you have to think that whatever fine he was going to set, he wanted it to send a message. He wanted it to have a big impact, wanted to also deter any type of behavior like this, deter others from acting in this type of behavior. So that number definitely sends a message. I'm curious to see whether the judge also addressed the certificate issue of whether Trump or his family members can still have business in New York City.
That's what I was curious about, because coming in, we were saying, would this bar him? Of course, so much of the Trump business over the years has been centered right here in New York City, where he built up his business empire with all the properties that he owns from Trump Tower on down. I don't know that. We're looking through it right now. It's obviously a large document that we're combing through. The initial number, though, $354 million. How does that work? Said there'd be questions about how much liquidity anybody would have, no matter how much net worth they're at. But how does it work, then, when you're hit with a ruling like this?
So let's not forget, well, number one, he can still appeal the decision. So I'm assuming that his attorneys are going to file a motion to stay this decision in order for the appeal to go through. Aside from that, let's not forget that still E. Jean Carroll is owed $90 million. So this is not the only money that is owed to people. So we have to think what's going to happen. I honestly don't think that Donald Trump has the money to be able to pay any of these lawsuits, especially when you take into account that, yes, he is fundraising for his campaign, but his campaign money is not going to be eligible to be able to pay these fines because it wasn't in furtherance of the campaign.
Right. So that's the issue. So to explain that again, because there've been the money that Donald Trump has raised in other capacities is often used for legal expenses, right? Lawyers' fees and the like. But the rules in New York about using campaign funds or political funds for this to pay off something like this are much different, right?
Exactly. He won't be able to use his campaign money to pay this civil lawsuit. And he's not going to be able to use it because a civil lawsuit has nothing to do with him running his campaign or running for office. This is strictly has to deal with his business organizations here in New York and how he conducts the business. So he's not going to be able to touch that campaign money. If he does, then he's looking for federal state charges.
There's one part of this ruling, and guys, confirm this for me if you can in the control room as well, that where they're Trump officials, and Misty Maris, by the way, is joining Bernard and I in the studio right now, so I'll get to you and Misty in a moment, where Trump and officials at his company are, quote, being barred from being officers of businesses in the state, in New York, I believe it's the state of New York, for 3 years. So does that only apply to his sons on a personal level? So they're saying Donald Trump Jr., excuse me, and Eric Trump, two sons, are barred from being officers of businesses in New York for 3 years. First, to you, Bernard, on that, they were, as everybody knows, when he was president, pretty much the two. Remember, his daughter Ivanka, Misty's with us as well, went to work at the White House. Don Jr. and Eric were running the business here in New York, barred from being officers of businesses in New York for 3 years. What does that mean to you?
Well, there you have it right there. So they're not going to be able to have any businesses here in New York. They're not going to be able to have any businesses in their name or to conduct business in New York because of that bar of the 3 years. But the question will be, are they going to appeal this decision? If they're going to appeal this decision, will the judge stay the decision, meaning not impact, not enforce the $354 million fine or not enforce this stay of 3 years?
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.